I can put it out straight. Well, thank you all for coming. We're gonna go ahead and get started. Sorry for the delay. We had some tech issues, as always seems to come up with Zoom calls still, even after all these years. But I just wanted to welcome you all to the Accessibility and Disability Inclusion monthly meeting. We always meet on the second Wednesday of the month from 3 to 4 in this hybrid style, either here in the chamber or over Zoom. I always like to get started with having people both in Zoom and in the room go around and just introduce yourself. Let us know if there's anything in particular that you're hoping to get out of this committee or topics that you'd like to have us cover. I'm always looking, to make sure that we're doing presentations from organizations in the area that are obviously relevant and helpful for people to hear about. So I will start us off. I'm Susie Scher. I have my own accessibility consulting firm called Share Spaces, and I chair this committee for the chamber. And why don't we go around the table in the room and then we'll do the Zoom folks.
Hello, everybody. I'm Leslie Garcia, the Director of Programs at the Contra Costa Crisis Center. We have 24-hour crisis hotlines, 211 information and referral, and we also have a Help Me Grow program. So we work with families with kids 0 to 5 who have concerns about their child's developmental or behavioral development.
Hi, my name is David Benet. I am with the nonprofit, California Nonprofit of the Year, Mobility Matters. And what we do is we give free rides to seniors and veterans who take them to medical clinics, grocery shopping. And we also put out this lovely book, Transportation Guide. If you're here a few months ago, I did a little topic on it, but this is our updated new book, version 5 or something from May of this year. So if you want to know any transportation options in your city, pick up one of these. And yeah, that's it.
Hi, everybody. I'm Heidi. I represent the hotel, Sonesta Select in Pleasant Hill. I'm here to learn, and I am wanting to offer my work for nonprofit groups. It's actually in the website of Concord, Chamber of Commerce. It's free. Please use it for your offsite meetings. I'd love to have you come know the hotel, visit the hotel.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Vanessa Gonzalez. I'm with Synergy Home Care in Walnut Creek. We do in-home services, all non-medical in-home services. We'll do all ages, not just seniors. So we also service kids in our area as well. And I'm here definitely to learn more about what has to offer over here in the city. And also, my daughter has disabilities, so this is very informative for me to come to.
And I'm Hannah Michelson. I'm from Care Parent Network, and we know 211 and Help Me Grow really well. We are the Family Resource and Empowerment Center that serves Contra Costa County. We are based here in Concord. We serve families of kids with disabilities, ages 0 to 22 and even older. In fact, just before I came, I was working on a really tough case of an elderly mom whose son is in his 40s on the spectrum and trying to access services. So we have a staff of about 8 or 9 of us. Many are bilingual in Spanish, so we offer everything we do in English and Spanish. And every service we provide to families is free. We have support groups, we have parent trainings. Parents can call us if they're just having trouble navigating a service in this system because it's complex and confusing. And mostly just to talk to another parent. We're staffed by parents, myself included. Everybody has a child with special needs and with a variety of lived experience. So anyway, that's us, and I'll share more about it later.
Wonderful. Okay, that's it for those of us in the room. So how about Nancy? You want to start us off in introductions?
Sorry about that. Nancy Sinsel. I am the creative director and owner of Red Dog Graphics and Fast Signs of Concord. We made that pivot to Fast Signs a couple of years ago and started getting more requests for ADA signage. So I've been a part of this group to find out a little bit more about what are the challenges so I can make more informed recommendations when people are looking for that type of signage. And I am also the social media director for this group. Thanks.
Thanks, Nancy. Twingen, you want to go next?
Sure. Good afternoon. My name is Twingen Saul. I am the ADA coordinator for the city of Concord. So I just sit in on these meetings to see what's going on and if there's anything I can do to help.
Awesome. We're always glad to have you. And how about Eva? You can round us out. Wonder if Eva stepped away. Okay, and it's joining through Zoom. She did her introduction, so she can share her slides because she is going to be doing a presentation for us with more details about the Care Parent Network.
Hi. Yeah, sorry. I was just having technical issues on my laptop. Can you guys hear me well?
Yeah, now we can't go for it.
Okay, perfect. Hi, everybody. I'm Eva, and I'm with Fast Science of Concord, where I'm actually also with Nancy on Red Dot Graphics. And as she mentioned before, pretty much it's more of an educational purpose on my end, just because we do have contractors and construction workers working on some signage like ADA. And so it's just pretty much more informational on my end to see what we can do and help those businesses, making sure they're all up to current code for ADA.
Wonderful. Glad to have you again, Eva.
Thank you.
Since Nancy mentioned that she's our social media director, I just wanted to point out that we do have a LinkedIn group as well as a Facebook group and also an Instagram account. So love to have you join us over in the social media world and kind of stay connected that way, and also share out to anyone else who you think would be interested. We do record our meetings, which is the nice factor to having Zoom. So whether you can't make it to a particular meeting, but you still want to listen to the recording, or you know someone else who just can't quite make it but is interested in one of the topics, please make sure to share that out as well, because we want to make sure we're reaching as many people as possible. Okay, I think with that,
Okay, let me just make sure I can share.
Yeah,
Looks like I can.
okay, so Hannah's gonna take it away.
Get this loaded. Talking too slow. Okay. Yeah, that's okay. I know, trying to minimize that. So as I mentioned in our intro, we're a Care Parent Network serving Contra Costa County. We've been in Contra Costa County for a little over 30 years, serving families and kids with disabilities. We were started by other parents, kind of at a time when family resource centers like CARES were starting across the state of California. As I mentioned, also, we're professionals with that lived experience as parents of children with developmental disabilities. And really, our staff have a wide range of disabilities. A couple of us, like myself, have kiddos with autism. Some have kids that have more fragile medical needs as well. And then even sadly, a couple of our staff members, their children passed away due to their disability. So we really have like the breadth of experience. Everything is offered in English and Spanish, and we use an interpretation service for other languages that maybe aren't as common, because we want to try to communicate with parents in their native language. We offer a lot of help with the individualized IEP program, and school district services, support groups, one-to-one help navigating a variety of regional center services, California Children's Services for those that have medical complexities, and parent workshops and conferences. We also offer a monthly newsletter and try to share out other important information on Constant Contact in our Facebook page. As far as just in general, what family resource and empowerment centers do, they kind of fit into 3 categories. First is our what we call our early start families. Those are families whose kids are ages 0 to 3. There's separate funding from the state that's set aside for these early start kiddos. And this is where maybe they're getting connected with Help Me Grow. Maybe they've started having a conversation with a pediatrician, or they've had a family member say, hey, I think you might want to have a conversation with your doctor, or call regional center. and see about an evaluation for services. And so there's a variety of categories, and we'll talk about those in a minute, where kids can qualify for these early intervention services. The goal is that if you can infuse services for that child at an early age, that hopefully as they grow up, they don't need as many services and interventions as they grow older. Also under the education bucket, that's probably the bulk of the work we do, families ages 3 to 22 and even older. We help a lot with those IEPs at school. That's really if a child is found to need services to help them access their education. That's the document. It's a legal binding document. And so we help with that because it's complex and it's confusing, and you know, there's checkboxes and places parents are supposed to sign. It's a lot. And then we help with that early start to preschool transition, which can be a lot for parents who kind of feel like they just are getting going in early start and now it's time to transition. And then also that transition out of post-secondary, you know, out of the school district services that usually happens by age 22. And then a lot of support and outreach. So presentations like this for other community partners. We've been presenting a lot with Contra Costa Health Plan as well. And school districts. We have family support groups in both English and Spanish. We have groups in both languages for dads. We have a group for Black families. So we really trying to meet parents where they are. And then, you know, any resource fair. I know we were at the Thursday concert and farmers market a couple weeks ago. So just trying, I never want to be the best kept secret. And so the more we can share what we do, we depend on, you know, the people that we interact with in the community to then say to their friend or family member or coworker, hey, there's this organization I think you should get in touch with. And I thought this group might be interested a little bit in kind of the history, very brief, that went into kind of the start of Family Resource Centers. So in the disability world, 1965 is really a landmark year in the state of California. That's when the Lanterman Act was passed. And this established rights of people with developmental disabilities to services and supports. And this is when California's 21 regional centers were formed. They serve all different areas of the state. Contra Costa is served by Regional Center of the East Bay. So I know many of you are familiar with them. In 1975, an act passed called Education of All Handicapped Children Act. And you can kind of also tell how the language has evolved over the years just in these acts. This guarantees what's called a free and appropriate public education, or FAPE, in the least restrictive environment. It basically mandated IEPs. And that students with disabilities be educated with their non-disabled peers, which, you know, should seem like a no-brainer, but there definitely was a time when that wasn't the case. And so it needed to be put into law. Another big one was the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. That's a federal law, or IDEA, was passed in 1990. This really put everything on a federal level and protected children and adults from exclusion and unequal treatment. And a lot of disability services for school especially fall under IDEA. In 1992, that's the year CARE started, but that's when around the state, other parent centers started talking about forming a network together. And then in 1993, the California Early Intervention Services Act really created our network. So wherever people go in California, they'll find a center like us. We all have similar services. I'm very confident when I refer a family who either has a family member in another part of California or is moving, that they're going to be able to connect with parents and with a center that knows that area. And then finally, in 2004, IDEA was updated to ensure equity, accountability, and excellence in education. A little bit about Family Resource Centers. So we do specifically help families birth to 3. We receive that funding from the state through the Individuals with Disabilities Act. All family centers are unique because they're staffed by parents. And again, we all usually have additional funding to serve over the age of 3. We never kick anybody out. Your child's 3, you don't need any more help navigating services because we know that's not how it works. And we actually are mandated to provide that support. We also offer a paperwork, a binder, to help families organize their paperwork from medical services, regional center, education. I think even in our digital world, as much as it's still online, families still end up with a lot of paperwork. And so we provide them a binder. We have it in English and Spanish. I've mentioned a little bit about our support groups, and then we also partner with the Mind Institute at UC Davis, which is one of the premier, autism researchers in the world. And we run a program called Mind the Gap, which is a 12 session one-to-one parent coaching program. And that really is trying to get parents when maybe they've just received a diagnosis, either when their child's younger. We know some kids don't get diagnosed until later on in elementary school, and just trying to help walk them step by step through what they need to do to navigate services, instead of them feeling like, here, do everything all at once, just learning to take things in bite-sized chunks. This is a little bit about Mind the Gap. It is a free program. We offer it in English and Spanish. And it really is for a variety of disabilities, or even where there's a suspected developmental delay. And families get connected to a peer navigator at our center, and then they work with one of our staff members over a period of about 4 months, usually 10 to 12 sessions. And they're, again, guided about their child's diagnosis and services. And I think one important aspect of Mind the Gap is parents learn to prioritize self-care. And so they're learning from early on in their kid's diagnosis to set a goal to how they're going to care for themselves. I know when my son was diagnosed 19 years ago, I felt like for probably the first 6 months, everything I consumed had to be about autism, and that I somehow was going to miss something if I didn't, have this goal of consuming everything I could. And I realized after about 6 months that was not sustainable for me. It wasn't healthy for my own mental health. And so I definitely would have benefited from something like this early on. So I'm glad it's there for other families now. As far as what families and other community partners to expect, we partner with families on their journey. We help them with trainings and different referrals to help them and their child, and help them build confidence through peer-to-peer support, that they can learn to navigate this system and feel more confident as they go on. This is just a figure I think is helpful in Contra Costa County, so not just Concord, but across the county. Over 23,000 students receive special education services. That's from ages 3 to 22. So that's a lot of kids when you think about it in our county. And these are the 4 special education local planning areas, or SELPAs, that are covered here in Contra Costa County. 3 of them are single district special education areas. So Mount Diablo Unified, San Ramon Unified, West Contra Costa Unified. And then all of our smaller districts, so everything from Antioch, Brentwood to Orinda, Moraga, and Martinez, fall under Contra Costa SELPA as far as overseeing their special education services. And they are right there. So, and they're all wonderful and ready to work with families. Just a little bit about the Family Empowerment Center aspect. So this is our funding ages 3 to 22. These were established back in 2001. And at that time, only 12 centers were created. And just a few years later, they only added 2 more. So for a total of 14. And it was like that for almost 20 years. And so in fact, over 50% of the state was not covered by a Family Empowerment Center with its dedicated funding for families ages whose kids are 3 to 22. And so really, after a lot of advocacy, the first major expansion comes in 2021, where the legislature increased funding finally, and there was room for more centers. And so then we went from 14 to 22 and quickly to 31. And now we have 32 centers, where this year, the last area was Lake County. to get a family empowerment center. So now every area of California is covered by a family empowerment center, which is really exciting. And especially exciting for Contra Costa. Again, lots of the services are similar as far as that specialized training, peer-to-peer support, support groups, access to information, helping parents understand their child's education and development needs, and learn to communicate effectively, especially with their school district. That's a long relationship that families are going to have. If your child enters the school district at age 3, and my son has been in the same school district from age 3 till he's almost 22, it's a long time and important to learn to meet effectively. Your team and the people that are working with your kid change over the years, but it's important to have a good relationship. So we really try to emphasize that with families. I think the biggest thing on this slide, and we've talked a lot of it already, is that what families experience as they move from like our early start funding to our family empowerment center funding is they're not going to experience any interruption in their service with us. That just happens on the back end as far as we're concerned, but really we're there for families whenever they need us. They might end up, as our staff changes over the years, the person they worked with at first might not be the person that helps them later on, but we're still going to be there and able to help them. And then just a little about our service system, especially here in Concord and Contra Costa County. I like to think of it as these 3 essential service buckets. So we've talked and we'll talk a little bit more about the school district bucket. And that's where families are going to access special education services and really how their child's disability impacts their education. Then we've got our regional center bucket, which is a variety of services depending on needs. And they're really the payer of last resort until age 22. And after age 22, regional center is paying for most of the services an individual needs, whether it's a group home setting, a day program, supported employment, social rec services, wide variety. And then there's also services people can access through their health insurance. And really, no matter who your health insurance is, they should offer some sort of diagnostic service, a way families can get that diagnostic evaluation. They should offer ABA services, applied behavior analysis. Sometimes families can get additional speech and occupational therapy, and then also get help with managing their child's medication. And CARE can help with a variety of different generic services that families might need help with, anything from SSI to IHSS, helping with conservatorship guidance. Those are some, as kids turn 18, a child with a developmental disability, it doesn't always make sense for them to have access to all the rights and powers that come with being an adult. And so sometimes parents want to maintain the ability to make decisions. And then we really see ourselves as those partners in collaboration with the families, with the education aspect, as well as the community services. A little bit about Regional Center of the East Bay, because I wasn't sure if everybody was aware of it. They're one of, as I said, 21 regional centers, and they work in partnership with individuals and agencies to plan services, everything from early intervention preschool to adult day programs that really have a focus on caring for seniors with developmental disabilities. And as far as that early start criteria that I mentioned earlier, again, this is for kiddos under the age of 3 who are at risk of having a developmental disability or who have a delay of at least 25% in one or more of these areas. And that's all that's required for a child to get those services from 0 to 3. As far as some of, depending on the assessed needs and what's needed, they can get occupational therapy. Assistive technology is any device that would help the child communicate. If the child is very late talking, a device like that might help them be able to communicate what they want instead of them just feeling frustrated that they can't make their needs known. Special instruction like an early intervention preschool, speech and language therapy, variety of services. When kids turn 3, the eligibility criteria changes a little bit for regional center, and they're looking for a specific diagnosis. And they're also looking for, is this child's disability going to impact them throughout their life? And they're making a determination of lifelong access to services based on that. So these are the 5 categories that Regional Center is looking at: autism, CP, intellectual disability, epilepsy, or anything that's like closely related to those, or that the treatment is closely related. After age 3, sometimes that's called status 2 or Lanterman. People can get access to additional adaptive equipment and supplies, even wheelchairs, bath equipment in their home, childcare services, diapers, especially for older children who have a hard time toileting. Families can get help because that's a large cost. Respite services, which really is kind of like babysitting, but in order to give parents a break. This week, my son was away at a sleepaway camp that for us counts as respite because we get a 10-day break from some of his anxieties and some of the stress that comes sometimes with him. And then social recreational services as well. This is newer to Regional Center, but really is just about accessing activities in the community, whether it's at a gym, gymnastics classes, swim lessons, dance classes. It really can be a wide variety of services. And again, just a reminder of those service buckets again. And I think this map is always helpful. This is a snapshot of my son and the services he had at one time when he was growing up. So under his school services, he had a special ed teacher. He had a general education teacher that sometimes he was, pushing into their class for mainstreaming. Various related services. He had speech and OT at school. And then he receives busing services because he's rarely been in our neighborhood school. And so we depended on the district to help him get to school. And some years that was great, and other years it was really stressful. So those are all people that we're interacting with a lot during the course of the school year. Then we access our health insurance through Kaiser. He has a primary care provider. He has a psychiatrist. And then at times we've had in-home ABA, which then would have 3 other people that we're working with to provide his services. And then he is a Regional Center client. So we have a case manager. We had in-home respite, we had out-of-home respite, and now we have social rec services. And those are all different providers and people we're dealing with. And then there was anything we supplemented as a family, Boy Scouts, piano lessons, whatever it was. And you can imagine for a child that has medical complexities, the medical side can get really long with various specialists that a family is having to meet with. And it has been shown there can be really long wait times for families. So all the while you're stressed because your child has this medical condition, now you have to wait sometimes 2, 3, 4, 6 months to see a specialist. It's quite a bit. And I think just sharing that parent perspective as people in the community interact with people. A lot of parents may still be in those initial stages of concern, of assessment. It's stressful. They're grieving. Sometimes there is a grief that takes place when your child is diagnosed with a disability. You can reassure them, collaborate when challenges come up. If their child or adult is interacting in the community, what can they teach you about their child? Their likes and their dislikes may help people better engage their child. And sometimes it's hard when parents are dependent on transportation or they're not seeing the person that their child is meeting with regularly, then look for ways to seek the parent's input. I'll pass these slides on and you can get some of this. I think these last ideas for cultivating connection are helpful. Communicate with families of individuals with disabilities. Show empathy. They might feel, like I said, grief, guilt, gratitude for support, anxiety about a new school year. Show respect and acknowledge that there may be a variety of points of view that are valid. Offer scheduling options and timeframes that work for families. I think as we talk about accessibility, and especially in the developmental disabilities community and education, there's a lot of acronyms and jargon that get thrown around. And not everybody, interacts with this on a daily basis like some of us do. And so making sure we try to explain things to parents, say out the acronym, don't just, expect that a family's gonna know what that is. Just as we do in this meeting, offer options for teleconferencing or a web-based meeting. Assume goodwill on everyone's part. Equity, be responsive to each family's unique circumstances and culture. Our county, our community, our city are increasingly diverse. And so it's more than ever important to take those things into account. Encourage involvement in the community and just be curious, ask questions, remain open. And then as far as how people can connect with us, if you find a family that you think could benefit from our services, refer them to us, have them call us, you call us, we'll send you a referral form. People can subscribe to our newsletter. There's a link for it at the top of our website, which is on the last slide. And you can share information about our parent training and workshops. And our mission is always not to do things for parents, but to empower them to be the best advocate for their child. They know their child best. And so just helping them feel like confident in order to express their child's needs. And our website is there, and our general email and our office in Concord. And I'm happy to take some questions.
Yeah. I've got a
Yeah.
few.
Yeah.
So what do you actually do with the IEP? I used to, previously, before I came here, I worked for a tutoring company, and we did specialize in special needs students,
Okay.
and we would have credentialed special needs teachers go to IEP meetings. What do you do for the IEPs?
So if possible, we like to consult with a parent before that IEP meeting. So first of all, getting a copy if we can of their previous IEP, walking them through that document and making sure they understand what all the different sections and boxes are. Helping the parent plan for that meeting. So what questions do they have for the team? Does the parent have an agenda of how they'd like that meeting to flow? Making sure if the parent has additional concerns or information to raise in the meeting, that they feel ready to do that. When it's needed, we will attend an IEP with the family as well. Mostly just for additional emotional support. And sometimes given the need of the IEP, or if there's been a contentious history between the family and the school team, sometimes it's helpful for us to attend then, but we're just there mostly as not a paid advocate, but as emotional support. We never want a family to attend an IEP alone.
And you know how to record those, right?
We will record if the family has to give, if the family wants to record, they have to give the district 24 hours notice.
Yeah.
And we'll make sure that the families understand that rule and to know that then the district is going to record that meeting too. Yeah.
How many staff members do you have?
We have a team of, I think there's 7 or 8 of us. I'd have to count on my fingers. But we have an admin assistant who just handles all of our new referrals. She's the first point of contact. And then I have a team of, I think 7 or 8 family support specialists.
Now, are you a nonprofit or are you?
We're a nonprofit.
Okay. Do you need volunteers?
Sometimes we do.
For
Yes.
what?
One of our projects that we do every Christmas is we identify families that we've been working with who maybe have some extra needs during the holidays. And we help those families fill out a wish list. And then we love to have donors, whether it's you, your family, a group of coworkers who are willing to adopt our families, get the items on that list. We help wrap everything and make sure it gets off to the family. So that's one that comes off the top of my head right away.
Fundraising things or anything?
We do. We have done some Giving Tuesday campaigns. We're happy to explore some other options there. A lot of our funding comes from grants, and sometimes that comes with constraints on how that money is spent. And so definitely fundraising is super helpful for us because it gives us a chance to meet some other needs that maybe don't always fit under our grant.
So you refer a lot of people to the regional care center?
Well, back and forth. So if a family isn't connected yet with regional center, we'll make sure they call them because those are really important services for the family to have. Sometimes we get referrals from regional center. If that's the family's first point of contact, they'll send a family name over to us. And sometimes if a family is having struggled navigating regional center, I can't get a hold of my case manager, nobody's talked to me, then we can kind of, you know, call them, hey, can you tell me what's going on with, we might call a supervisor that we know. Can you tell me what's going on with the Smith family's case manager, and here's what's going on here. So we'll try to like help remove some of those roadblocks that might be there.
Do you work with like the Special Olympics?
They're definitely a community partner of ours. We let families know about Special Olympics because I think there's some great activities there that our families are interested in.
Because I know there are also chamber members.
Yeah, they're great.
It's like-
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, every county is different, and like Los Angeles County is
Mhm.
massive.
Yes.
Do you have 2 resource centers, 3 resource or?
I
one
think there may even be 5 that cover LA County. I would have to look at our list of my network, my statewide network, but I know there's multiple counties,
And-
multiple centers in LA County.
And are you reaching out to probation departments, foster and the court system?
Not always. They end up reaching out to us if they have someone who we could help serve. We definitely have helped foster families who have a child come into their home and now have like signing privileges for their IEP, for regional center services, things like that.
So one thing that previous job, we worked with a lot of probation department students, juveniles, and social services, foster system, also Native American education programs, just a whole bunch, and the court system
Yeah.
too, because they mandated services.
Yeah.
And I was just wondering if they get a liaison that reaches out to them, because a lot of those, especially foster kids, needing your services
Yes.
also.
Yes.
Who's-
I mean, we have had Family Justice Center reach out to us
Yeah.
when like they're serving a family where there's a developmental disability need, or when we hear that there maybe is a legal need, we'll refer them to Family Justice Center.
Did you also work with CASA?
Not as much as we do with Family Justice Center. Yeah, but I'm familiar with CASA. Great question.
Sorry, I'm just trying to get.
Yeah.
out of the-
No,
the
it's great.
boxes.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Question for your parent training workshops, normally, what do you do with this? Is it something that you, is the workshop conducted at the house?
Sometimes they're conducted virtually, so we'll host a Zoom meeting and parents can join. Sometimes we try to train a group of parents in person together. So like just tomorrow, my staff is going to the George Miller Center, which is an early intervention preschool program, to present a training we have called Your Child's First IEP, and they're doing it entirely in Spanish for a group of Spanish-speaking parents. But a staff member there at George Miller Center reached out to us and said, hey, I've got some parents whose kids are turning 3 soon. Could you come? And we're like, yeah, sure. But otherwise, we'll try to do it virtually for the most part. But there is benefit to both, but we try to, you know,
Keep in mind.
yes,
as a space
definitely.
for
Thank you.
that.
That's so helpful and good to know about. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
a big part of it. Do you ever do workshops for the police?
We have in the past, not current, we haven't had any offers currently, but
'Cause I
I'd love to do more of that.
know one of my hometown from was a homeless man that was on his medications. He was in the early 20s. And he was beaten to death by the police because they couldn't communicate.
Yeah.
And I think I've heard of other training programs where people like yourselves do, and have training course for the police and
Yeah.
departments for them to recognize what disabilities are with this. But unfortunately, in today's age, police are supposed to be doctors, are supposed to be psychiatrists, and they are not trained
Yeah.
for any of it.
It's true. And for individuals with autism especially, and even who are nonverbal, the rate of wandering can be very high. And those are the kinds of people that search and rescue gets sent out to find when they wander away. And, every hour is so critical in those cases. And I know my son had a bicycle injury several years ago, and even as much as we had practiced, what's your name, what's your mom's name, what's your phone number, when he was in shock and all of a sudden dealing with strangers that were helping him until a friend called, we need to come because we weren't aware it had happened. He could not give any of that information, no matter how many times we had practiced it. So, yeah, I think it's really needed for police and all of our first responders. So, yeah, I would love to do that, but we'll have to reach out to
Because
Concord PD and sheriff
I
and
know the
others.
Concord PD came in and talked to like fast food beverage. About back ago.
Okay,
They've been in a number of our Concord meetings. So.
yeah, no, I think it's important. Thank you for that reminder.
Do you have some kind of workshop or trainings for family members who aren't parents? For the aunts and uncles?
Yeah, we definitely think we can support them. We don't have a specific training because I don't know off the top of my head, like when we put them in our database, they just show up as like the parent caregiver. But we are welcome, as long as that family has the signing rights or the decision-making rights for that child, we'll work with them one-on-one to support them. Because sometimes the family member is kind of put into this role of needing to make decisions very quickly, and they may not understand that whole system. If parents are wanting to help educate extended family members about their child's disability, we definitely have a lot of resources we can help them with, because we know it's hard. Sometimes parents don't have an extended family member that is on board, that's supportive, that just thinks, oh, if you just disciplined more, if he wasn't so spoiled, blah, 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 like this wouldn't happen. And so, yeah, we have plenty of resources we can share that way. I hope that helps.
I'm sorry.
You're okay.
What is, since speaking with us today, what would be your main goal for us to take away and say, I'd like you to now be advocates for us for this, or like, what would you want us to advocate when we see other people who we're like, oh, we should probably.
Yeah. Yeah, say, hey, I know Hannah at Care Parent Network, and I know if you called her, she'd be able to help you. Like, I just want everybody in our community to let their family and friends know about our services, because like, I never want to be the best kept secret. It breaks my heart when I hear families that are like, oh, I wish I'd known about you guys when my kid was 10, and it's like, oh, but we were here.
So just looking at our sponsor board, do you reach out to John Muir? So like my wife's a OBGYN, do you reach out to the OBGYNs?
We probably reach out more to the NICU.
Okay.
And I have a staff member that works at Children's Hospital in Oakland as well. So we try to connect with families as early as we can.
I would
that
reach
way.
out to Sharon.
Okay.
over at, John Muir Health. Make sure
Yeah,
they
thank
know.
you.
Sharon Jenkins.
Yeah.
And
thank you.
Kaiser also, and Sutter, those would be the.
And we have a good relationship with Kaiser. We help, Kaiser does an autism orientation, they call it, for families around Kaiser NorCal region who have been diagnosed. And I know they have an office that is their pediatric developmental disability office, and they connect people regularly with the Family Resource Center in their area. Yeah, Kaiser's a great partner that way.
I was just gonna give a little personal anecdote to your great question about, what would your goal be and how can we refer? I was able to connect a dear friend of mine with Hannah specifically, who they have been so grateful as a family for the services of Care Parent Network and helping them navigate all of these systems. Their daughter had just received a recent diagnosis when I learned about Hannah, and so it was just perfect timing, and it's just been, I think, able to take a lot of stress off of their shoulders to navigate those systems and just have people to talk to and, you know, in a different way. I mean, I can talk to her as a friend, but
Yeah.
not in this way.
Actually, a great eye opener as well. So I just came in, I wanted to learn and offer my services. But when you were going through it, I remembered I do have a nephew who's the only one that was diagnosed and the parents. And yes, when you said there was grief in it, when it came out. And yeah, I really want to tell them about this. This is a great resource. for them.
And if for some reason they don't live in Contra Costa County, we'll make sure they get connected with the center in their area. That would be us.
Okay, great,
Yeah.
great.
Do all of Contra Costa County?
We do.
So there's another place for Alameda. Another.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel very confident referring people to our colleague, only because they're gonna have those relationships with the school district, with other service providers, you know, community, First Five, 211, whatever, they'll know that community, that.
I have a couple of questions.
Yeah.
You were talking about some of the support groups.
Yeah.
Is there one that might be geared towards couples, like the parents? Because I just know
That's a
that
good
divorce
question.
rates can be so high
Yes,
in
it's very
families
true.
where the child has a disability.
I mean, to our general support groups, both mom and dad are welcome.
Yeah.
I think it's usually just one parent that attends, and then we have a group of really dedicated dads that attend our dad's group. I don't know that there's one that's specific to couples, but if we would definitely encourage families, if their child is a regional center client, to make sure they're using their respite services. That's, every week they can have somebody come over and watch their child that the parent isn't having to pay for, so that the parents can go out together.
Yeah.
So,
And I just wanted to actually piggyback off of, you had mentioned, it's like a babysitter, but just, because I
Yes.
know what it means, and I
Yeah.
don't know that everybody does. But the difference is, it's someone who's specially trained.
yes.
Because you can't just hire Sally, the 16-year-old in your
No.
neighborhood to come over and.
And it's somebody
watch your
who
child.
has been background checked,
Mhm.
fingerprinted, had some basic training, or families can use a provider of their choice if they
Right.
have a friend or a family member who's willing to do that. But
I just wanted to make that
And this is
distinction,
free
because it's
or-
like,
it is
why
free
would
for
you
the
need that? Why
family.
couldn't you?
And so then regional center contracts, there's a variety of respite agency providers, Monos, Pacific Home Care Services, and others, and they contract with that provider. So that's how the money gets passed through, and the parents don't have to ever do anything.
I also wondered, again, because I'm an occupational therapist and have been in the school system for a long
Yes.
time. So I know a lot of the systems and the jargon, but if you could explain for everyone about post-secondary education.
Oh,
'Cause I
yeah.
think people think, oh, you graduate from 12th grade and that's it, but in
Yeah.
the special education world.
So
it's
for a
different.
student that cannot get a high school diploma, meeting like our regular, county standards for getting that diploma, they get what's called a certificate of completion at the end of high school. Like my son still got to walk in graduation with his classmates. Nobody knew, that he wasn't receiving a diploma. But then he was able to access what's called a transition program. And all of our districts in the county have a transition program that focuses on a lot of life skills, independent living skills, practice taking public transportation, going out in the community, managing money, those kinds of things from ages 18 through 22. And so for Mount Diablo, that's called the Bridge Program. I believe you guys have somebody come and talk about that. And he's been so happy at that program. And then after age 22, there's a variety of services that he could be eligible for. Not everything's going to be a good fit for him, but kind of the range of services. There are some students that are ready to attend a college program or ready to attend a community college with some supports. We have great community colleges that have disabled student services offices, but it's dependent on the student to go and say, I had an IEP, and IEP isn't valid really anymore at college, but you can say, you know, these are the things I need help with in college. Someone to take notes, extra time on a test, whatever it is. And then there can be like college living experience type programs. So there's one out in Fresno, at Fresno State called Wayfinders. There's one up at UC Davis. There's others in Southern California where they kind of get to live in a more supervised environment than just a traditional college dorm, have a little bit of extra help with social navigating college. Then some kids may be ready for a job, but maybe they just need a job coach or some sort of supported employment service that's going to help them be successful in their job. Some kids aren't ready for a job yet, so maybe there's a day program where they get to spend their day in a variety of activities in the community and get some extra help and practice volunteering. Maybe their group goes out and has a little job, you know, once a week together for something like that. And then there's some that maybe employment isn't in the near future. They're just gonna look to access things in their community, try to have choice over how they're spending their day. Yeah, there's a really wide variety. That's a good question.
Great, thank you.
And did you know County Connection now has a travel training program?
Yes, I saw that.
Great.
Yeah, saw them. Yeah. Yeah.
Great. Any questions from folks on Zoom? We don't want to leave you out.
I can stop sharing. So
Well, thank you so very much, Hannah. That was
You're welcome.
really informative. Really valuable information. I think all of our brains, like, who have I not
Yeah.
remembered to tell about? But honestly, I didn't realize that it's a system of these family resource centers. I thought Care Parent Network was just this fabulous standalone, which it is,
Yeah.
but I didn't realize, like, oh, I have a friend in Colorado that now I'm thinking, oh, I want to make sure she's aware of it.
Yeah, I'm not always sure what's available in other states.
Right.
I know what's available in California,
Yeah,
but chances are there's some parent support. Just
probably,
take some clever
especially in a larger
Googling.
metropolitan area. They're
Yeah,
good
for sure.
Great, okay, well, thank you everyone so much for joining us. Again, this meeting was recorded, so I'll be sending out notes, just to summarize, and I'll include the recording, so you're welcome to share that with folks who couldn't be here, or if you wanna go back and watch and listen again. I will also include all of Hannah's contact information, so in case you think of it later and you're like, what was the name?
I have some cards too. I didn't
Okay.
bring other flyers with me, but you want them stuff by our office in Concord. You can pick them up.
Wonderful. Okay, so I think unless anyone else has other questions or comments about, you know, just the committee in general, that we will wrap up and look forward to hopefully seeing you again next month. So thanks for coming, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good one.
You need to probably vote.
Yes, I will take some more of those. This has been really helpful.
I also brought some brochures and, well, let's start.
Oh, thank you.
Yes. No boys. How large is your boardroom? Yeah, yeah.
I'll take a handful.